Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, a show where, as always, we're hitting you with the elbows of knowledge. And the PFL Europe Finals are here. Nemkov taking on Ferreira in the main event. And as always, your boys here on the Ground and Pound podcast are here to break down the entire event, starting off in the early prelims, heading to the main event. And you know, I'm joined by my co-host, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
And we're going to dive right into the early prelim opener of Garnett, taking on Baris Adiguzel. Carlos, who you got in this matchup?
I'm actually going to take Dean Garnett in this one. I do like Baris. I like his aggression, his ability to push the pace. He looks like he has a hunger to finish. He looks like he's always trying to end you with strikes, or he's trying to look for that submission. But I just feel that Garnett, against some of the other prospects, like I think he fought Jan Saplowski, he was able to at least I guess time some of the takedowns nicely. You know what I mean? It looked like he was going to strike, and then he goes in for the takedown. When Saplowski thought he was able to land a shot, he didn't overextend, but Garnett was able to take him down and control him on the ground. And I think he can do that same thing because Baris likes to pressure. He likes to come forward. And I think that Garnett can confuse him, throw a couple of strikes out there, make it look like he's going to stand with them, and then get a takedown. Now, Baris can scramble a little bit, and he can get back up, but Garnett does have very good ground control. And I do think that if the fight stays on the feet or Baris lands something very heavy, he can get this fight over. It could be night-night for Garnett. But I do think that Garnett has shown resilience after getting stung. So I'm not really worried about him getting finished with one shot. But I do think that this could also be a learning experience for Baris. How do I deal with someone who can keep me down? How do I deal with someone going for takedowns? Well, you know what I mean? Stuff that he hasn't seen before. So I think that Garnett, the experience, a little bit of savvy, I think that can get it done in this fight.
The Sniper is the perfect nickname for Baris, and I'm going with him here. I don't necessarily think that Garnett is a bad fighter. I think that he's definitely very durable, can mix in takedowns, and I think he'd be best served to do that in this matchup here against the Sniper. But ultimately, I think that Baris is going to be able to find the finish on the feet. Natural finisher, all 9 of his victories coming via way of finish inside the distance. And I just think here with Garnett that even though he does have a path to victory in the wrestling, that Baris is going to be able to keep this one upright. When you watch Baris, I'm a big fan. When I saw this guy fight for the first time, you watch tape on him. Everything is with a purpose. He's feinting to try to get a read on his opponent. He has good forward pressure. He throws to the body and the head. You'll see him throw a head kick upstairs, bring the arm up. He then goes to the body. Everything is with a purpose. He's doing it in order to be able to set up a different strike throughout the fight. He's got good head movement as well. And I think that Garnett, I just don't really see what he's going to be able to do outside of wrestle fucking Baris here for 3 rounds. I think ultimately there is going to be some sort of kill shot here that Baris finds, hence the name, the Sniper. I think he gets it done here in the finals. And I do think that Garnett obviously has shown, he is tough, he is very durable, but I just think that Baris is a natural finisher. He's not just going in there, trying to swarm you and land a big shot. Everything is with a purpose, and I think that he does a good job of feigning out his opponents to draw out reactions and get reads. And at 37 years old, we could question whether the chin of Garnett is at any point going to fade, and I think that the Sniper here could definitely find it. So give me Baris, going to give that last name a go, Adiguzel for the victory here for some dissension early on the Ground and Pound podcast. And next up, we have Aleksandr Chizov taking on Connor Hughes. Carlos, who you got in this matchup?
In this one, as much as I like watching Chizov, I'm going to go with Connor Hughes in this one. He's patient. He looks for openings. He will counter. He'll let you go first. He creates openings. He mixes his strikes well with takedowns. Mixes his attacks pretty much overall a lot better than Chizov. Chizov's just going to come forward. And he's very heavy on the boxing. He'll throw a lot more punches than kicks. And I do think Chizov is the better boxer. I think Hughes, he'll be able to use more weapons. And I think that for that reason, I'm going to have to go with him. I think that he can find a way to control him. I think he can find a way to keep him at bay. He's going to be smart about it. And I don't know. As much as I like Chizov, he can be a little wild at times as he comes in. If he lands, he's going to hurt you. But I think Hughes is, I think he's relaxed enough to see the counter. And I think he's like just composed enough to find the opening. So yeah, I'm going to take Hughes. I feel pretty good about that. Watch this guy get slept, but I feel good about it.
I think this is a great matchup, and I just want to say before I break this one down, both guys are 28 years old. That is a typo. Fucking sue me. Great matchup here. Both guys utilizing kicks very well, can mix it in the boxing as well. We've seen in the past that they can also mix in some grappling. I would give Hughes the advantage in the wrestling department, but we've seen with Chizov that, he's got some very nice front chokes, darces. And I think ultimately this is a great matchup. Wherever this fight goes, I think either guy's got a path to victory or some sort of counter for his opponent. And I actually think that Conor Hughes, when it comes to the boxing, I think he's shown improvements there. And right when I think that, he's just a boxer, he ends up winning with a head kick knockout in his previous performance against Van Stennis. So full of surprises, can mix in the wrestling here. And I think that would be a good path to victory here against Chizov, who likes to throw a ton of kicks. And we've seen in the past with Chizov that he has been taken down and submitted. And ultimately, when you look at his previous two performances against Parcello and what's the other guy, Mark Ewan, not necessarily the best level of competition. Ewan hasn't necessarily had a whole lot of success in the PFL. He's kind of struggled. He's been a little bit inconsistent, and that split decision against Parcello could have gone either way. I think with Hughes, he's shown an ability to rise to the occasion. He's getting knockouts. He's finding shots on the feet. He's being measured. He's able to have good forward pressure, which I think will take away the kicks of Chizov, and he wants to mix in the wrestling. I think that he can. I wouldn't be surprised if either guy was able to win this one, but I do I lean ever so slightly here to Conor Hughes, just because I feel like he has more ways to win. And next up, the human alphabet here of Boris, Mbarga, Atangana taking on Guilherme Soares. Carlos, who you got in this one?
I'm going to take Atangana in this one. Both Soares and Atangana are technical and relaxed in their striking. Atangana carries, I think, the heavier strikes, the strength, the power advantage. He moves up and down in weight to take fights. He can be imposing in both weight classes. He has good skills. He's patient. He's very comfortable in the cage. He's got more to learn, but right now, the base that he has, he's got so much room for improvement because everything's functional. He's the type of guy that can learn a technique on Monday and use it on Tuesday very effectively. And I do feel that, how to deal with Soares, his high-level jiu-jitsu, is just how Atangana is going to do it, is just stuff the takedowns. I don't think he's going to be able to get him down, and I don't think it's going to be easy for him to get him down and go for a submission. I don't even think he can stand with him. I think Atangana's got a lot of upside. I think he's a little bit more athletic. I think defensively he's very solid. He doesn't take a lot of damage, and he's the more physical of the two. So I think he's going to impose himself on Soares. I think he's probably going to get the finish. I don't want to say round one, but I think possibly round one, and more likely round two. Soares isn't a bum, but yeah, I like Atangana. I think there's a lot of upside to this kid.
Yeah, I share the same sentiments that you do here, Carlos. I like Atangana in this matchup. I think obviously his experience fighting at heavyweight as well has served him well. He's been able to defend takedowns against much bigger opponents, better wrestlers. And he's shown, that he can take one to give one. He can trade in the pocket. He can get hit and come back in fights. He can mix in some grappling as well and find submissions. And when you look at this matchup here against Soares, obviously Soares is a high-level BJJ practitioner, but I question the chin here. And I think Atangana is pretty much got got the athleticism, speed advantage, and the striking enough to be able to find that chin and really test it out. I think the only path to victory that Soares is going to be able to find here is some sort of submission if he is able to get the fight to the ground. I think realistically, if this fight plays out on the feet, I agree with you. I think it should be a really early night here for Atangana to be able to find the first round knockout. And I just don't see any other path to victory here for Soares. And Atangana's shown that he can defend takedowns against bigger opponents, better wrestlers, along with the fact that he's also got submissions in his back pocket. But I think he finds a knockout on the feet. So give me Atangana here, first round knockout. I share the same sentiments as you. And next up, a favorite here. I'm going to say it on the ground and pound podcast. We've got Adjoudj taking on Frederik Dupras. Carlos, who you got in this matchup?
I'm going with Adjoudj in this one. Very good striking, very sharp, short movements, switches stances, very quick, throws feints, has good wrestling, has good ground control, and his previous fights always improving, always getting a little better every fight. And, he does have to be worried about Dupras' his ground game. You know what I mean? He's got to be very wary of that. But I think that his wrestling allows him to feel a little bit more confident knowing that he's not going to get taken down. He's not going to get controlled, and he doesn't have to worry about it too much. He scrambles very nicely as Adjoudj, and he always ends up in a great position. And as long as he thinks position over submission, because he will go for submissions if it's there, but if he just doesn't force it, and that's kind of what I want to see. If it's there, go for it. But if it's there and it's going to put you in a worse position, let it go. Stay safe. And I think that you'll be okay. I think he'll actually do a lot of damage on the feet as well, because Dupras not very sharp on the feet. So I'm going to go with Adjoudj to get this done.
Yeah, big fan of Adjoudj here. I think this one, to me, if he keeps this one on the feet, he should be worlds apart when it comes to the kickboxing and the striking here. Dupras, obviously known to jump the ghillie and get silly, but if he can't find that submission on the ground, he's pretty much useless. He's got good top pressure. When he gets you on top, he's looking for the submission. He's always looking for that neck. But I think on the feet, this should be night and day as usual day. He's shown an ability to be able to mix in grappling. He's decided to wrestle in previous fights. He's shown improvement from fight to fight. And the Sultan is a guy that I've been high on since we first started doing these breakdowns here in the PFL. And he's a high-level technical kickboxer and striker that's shown an ability to be able to find wrestling, find submissions, good cardio. He's able to come back in fights as well. He's a guy that can push a pace, very high on the kid overall, and still only 26 years old. And to me, Dupras is guillotine or bust. So if Adjoudj comes in here and mixes in grappling, I think that he'd be kind of foolish to do so. I do think he has high enough wrestling to be able to stay safe, but I think he just keeps this one on the feet. Ultimately, it wins a kickboxing match and finds the knockout here. Dupras is a guy who doesn't tend to have a whole lot of head movement. He looks like a fish out of water on the feet. Keep it there, beat him up on the feet, chew up his calf, and ultimately find the knockout here for Adjoudj to get the victory. And next up, we have Levi Batchelor taking on Rayan Balbali. I think I'm butchering that one. Carlos, who you got on this one? And also, I just want to say, I hope this isn't this high up on the card. I hope this is like the opening bout. There's no way that some of these fights should be ahead of this one. Can we just point that out? But Carlos, who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with Batchelor in this one. Balbali seems to be a little stiff, on the feet. On the mat, scrambles a lot, even when he has good position. So he's willing to give it up as well, just to get back to the feet a little bit, or try to get a better position, which is never like the best plan all the time. He will make too many movements and give his opponent space, and they can always get back up, which you don't want to create space. You want to steal the space from your opponent, fill it. And Batchelor is one of the guys that'll fill the space. And if he gets you down, he's going to hold you down. He's going to control you. He's going to keep that top pressure. He has very good control. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for Balbali. And I think that Batchelor is going to be able to just best him on the ground and be able to get the fight there. So I'm going to take Batchelor. He's still Batchelor's still pretty raw. Like on the feet, he doesn't look very solid. Looks a little wild at times. He does look a little stiff too. It's shown in their record. They're both very new. And yeah, I just think Batchelor's going to get it done. Not sure. You never know how much someone can improve from fight to fight, especially this early in their career. But I'm pretty confident Batchelor's going to get the upper hand in this one. I don't know what to say. I feel bad. Sorry, Balbali, but that's how I feel.
I'll say it, Balbali, you suck. Yeah, pretty much his first fight, 1-0 in MMA, fighting an 0-3 guy. When you watch the tape back on that one, he's swinging wild punches, both guys trading in the pocket. And I think realistically that just opens the door for a Batchelor level change here, which he's definitely got in his back pocket. The guy's going to be much better versed on the ground. He does a good job of passing guard, looking to do damage at all times, and ultimately finds a submission in his previous fight. And I think that's exactly what happens here. Balbali, not necessarily that versed on the ground or on the feet. I think he's still very raw. I do think that Batchelor is not necessarily known for his striking, but he did show in his previous fight, he's fought the higher level opponent. He's also shown an ability to be able to at least improve from fight to fight. And I think he knows where his bread is buttered. I think he gets this one to the ground. I think he dominates with top control and ultimately finds a submission at some point in this fight. And when you look at the striking of both guys, I did see with Batchelor that he is willing to trade in the pocket, but it's a little bit tight. It's a little bit crisp. In comparison to the two, but it's not nothing to really write home about, but it's still feasible to me. I think he likes to look to counter, but I think he's ultimately going to get this one to the ground and ultimately find a submission. I think if both guys stand and trade in the pocket, obviously either guy could knock each one out. It's a puncher's sport. At the end of the day, if you find the chin, who knows? Still very low level. We don't know what either guy's chin is like, but I think ultimately the grappling here of Batchelor is going to be enough to get the victory.
Need to be comfortable enough like that to be like, okay, you're not going to get this done. This is one-way traffic, or whatever you say, dog walk. I feel like there's a chance sometimes, unless you're fighting. I can't even remember that guy at 205 in the UFC. That guy always gets knocked out. Sakura, that guy. Yep. He's always getting hurt.
This is true, and it's going to be painful to listen to me butcher these two names. But next up, we have Gustavo Oliveira taking on Movsar Ibragimov. I think I nailed it. Carlos, who you got in this matchup?
I'm going to go with Gustavo Oliveira in this one. If Ibragimov or Ibragimov, however we're supposed to say this, can go heavy on the wrestling, then, he'll have a chance. And I think that's his path to victory. But I do think Oliveira, he is pretty solid with his takedown defense. Maybe not enough to keep up with Ibragimov in this one, but I do think he can find his way back to his feet. And when he does, I think he can unload on the feet. He's just got to stay safe. He can't just overextend on things. He can't throw in combination. He's going to have to keep everything a little tight and a little short. And I think that he can keep this fight on the feet. He can find a way to hurt Ibragimov. I do think that, I feel since Ibragimov doesn't really fight that way, where he's like technical on the feet, he's pushing the pace. I think that he needs to be very heavy on the wrestling. He needs to fake some strikes coming in, level change, get Oliveira down. But my whole thing is, can he keep Oliveira down? And I don't think he can. I like Oliveira's, he's got some good power. And the power comes from the fact that his strikes have no fat on it. They don't come out wide. They come out straight, and you don't see it coming. And I think that he's going to land something sharp, probably in knee. He's probably going to time something on the way in. I don't think he's going to get a finish, but I do think he's going to hurt Ibragimov in this one. And I think he's going to get the decision.
Yeah, Gustavo Oliveira will forever be a memorable fighter to me, win or lose, because when Carlos and I broke his previous fight down against Anis, wins by spinning, spinning back fist or spinning elbow, very viral knockout. And when we broke that fight down, you watch tape on the guy, it's not necessarily anywhere near as impressive as that knockout was. So I think Carlos and I both picked his opponent, and he proved us wrong. And I remember in the breakdown for that video that whether it was him or someone else posing as him online as a troll, they had a YouTube account named Gustavo Oliveira that was basically commenting on that video saying that we were wrong. So that will ever be funny to me, whether it was a joke or not. At the end of the day, Gustavo Oliveira, the guy's got good takedown defense, as Carlos mentioned. Spinning back fist knockout, was a viral knockout in that PFL tournament. And ultimately, I'm going to say all of that to say fuck Gustavo Oliveira, whether he listens to the channel or not, because give me Ibragimov here to get the wrestling done. I think it's exactly what he needs. We've seen it in the past with Oliveira. He struggled with wrestlers. He has shown an improvement to keep fights upright, but I think Ibragimov's got the grappling, got the wrestling chops to be able to get this one to the ground and control him, ultimately being able to find a submission or ultimately ride out for a pretty much a unanimous decision here. I've been impressed with him. I think that on the feet, he's decent. I don't necessarily think it's where he shines, but I think the wrestling here is where he's going to be able to get this fight to the ground, ultimately find top control or maybe find a submission. I don't necessarily think that Oliveira is a bad fighter, but I think those spinning techniques and big shots that he likes to throw, I think that's going to open up level change opportunities here for Ibragimov, and I'm going to pick him here in a fairly confident fashion, but I've been wrong in the past about Gustavo Oliveira. We'll see if I call it wrong again. And next up, we have a familiar face in Kevin Jousset taking on Patrick Habigori. I'm not sure how I'm pronouncing that name. Carlos, who you got in this one?
I'm going to take Habirora in this one. I think Jousset is he's very technical. He has solid striking. He has some heavy kicks too, and good technical striking pretty much. If he gets a body lock on you in the clinch, you're probably going to go for a ride because he's got that judo background and he could take you down. But can he keep you there? Can he rain down some shots in the ground and pound? Can he soften you up a bit? I don't know if he could do that to Habirora. He's going to be the bigger guy. A lot of these guys that come from 170 in the UFC are just from the other weight classes in the UFC. They tend to have that big size advantage. So I feel that Jousset wants to grapple. He carries that physical size so that he can actually grapple a little bit more, whereas Habirora, he looked a little small, like against, what was the name of that guy that he fought there? Anyway, guy from the UFC that he fought in his last out.
Oh, Danny
the
Roberts.
Size difference was Danny Roberts, and he was much bigger than Habirora, but Habirora is loose and he's quick and he uses his feet and was able to get the better of him. Now it could be the fact that he was, Roberts is aging and is on the decline, and Habirora is climbing. But I feel it's the same way with Jousset here. I think that Habirora could keep him at bay with the speed and his feet, and I think he could snap out those strikes. And I'm looking for another Habirora finish in this one. Jousset, he's technical, but he's stiff, and he's not the quickest guy. And I think he's going to be just a target, not even a moving target, just target practice. So let's go, Habirora. Let's get it done.
The Kevin Jousset, the kickboxer, right, Carlos? Yeah, I agree with everything that Carlos put forward there for the case for Habirora here. I think if you look at Kevin Jousset, he's a guy who's known for his judo, known for his submissions, and he comes in and has a technical kickboxing affair with most of his opponents, and how that's ended is pretty badly, especially in his last two fights. Obviously getting outstruck and pretty much beaten up from start to finish, pillar to post of that Metcalf fight. He's obviously shown to be, a much more well-rounded fighter than we first thought in that matchup. But still, Kevin Jousset was a guy that we thought was going to be able to beat the UFC debutant in Metcalf. McAuliffe, excuse me, I'm pronouncing that name wrong, as you know I love to do here on the Ground and Pound podcast, and along with Brian Battle as well. Technical kickboxing affair with a back and forth with Brian Battle, which he obviously was on the wrong end of. And I think when you look at Habirora here, he's a very athletic guy, very nice kickboxing. And I think that if this ends up being a back and forth striking affair, Patrick Habirora is going to have all the success he needs. If Jousset decides to mix in some grappling, I think he can definitely have success. But I think, honestly, this is going to be, like Carlos said, another Habirora knockout here. Jousset leaves far too many openings, leaves his chin up in the air, not a whole lot of head movement. He's a little bit stiff, unathletic, and I think the speed here of Habirora is going to be all she wrote, as I like to say, finding the knockout here of Kevin Jousset for 3 losses in a row. And next up, we have Pauline Wozniacki taking on Sabrinna de Souza. Yes, there's going to be a Mike Wazowski reference in this breakdown. Carlos, who you got in this one?
Actually, this was a very tough fight here to pick because both girls are very skilled. They got a lot of upside in this, but I'm going to take de Souza in this one. She's very skilled. She's very relaxed. She's very, very quick off her first movements. Now, Paulina, she's talented too. I think if this hits the ground, I would say I'd give her the advantage. In the striking department, I got to give it to Sousa. But Sousa's ground game is very solid as well. She scrambles good. She gets good takedowns when she wants it. And her top game is pretty solid as well. I do think Paulina does have some heavy strikes. In some of her fights, you see that her punches do affect her opponents very well. But Sousa's relentless, and she does have some snap on her shot. She has some pop. And sometimes I think it's just the speed of her coming forward overwhelms her opponent. So I think that her in and out movement is going to be a problem. I think Paulina is just a little bit slower. I think she's going to struggle on the ground, keeping Sousa down, getting Sousa down. And I think getting her down is going to be the bigger problem. And I think Sousa's going to expose that and get a little loose on the feet. She's got a very, very good, lead leg attack. She loves to rip that lead leg of her opponent if they leave it out there. And that 1-2 is quick, and she will throw in combination. So I think her barrage of offense is going to be a problem on the feet for Paulina. But like I said, they're both highly skilled. When I'm saying this about de Souza, doesn't mean that Paulina doesn't deserve to be there. She's very physical. She's very tough. She's got good technique. She's got solid long strikes. But I think that the aggression of Souza and the speed, the in and out, she's always moving her feet. That's the problem right there. How do you keep her in one spot? And I think de Souza is going to get it done.
Yeah, honestly, I've been impressed with both women. The fights that I've seen, the tape study I've done up until this point, I think both women are definitely contenders, people that you look forward to seeing on a PFL card. Sometimes we kind of question some of the level of the MMA fighters that we see in the PFL and some of the regional scene, but I've been impressed with both women, I got to say that. And first to talk about Pauline Wozniacki. Wozniacki, she's pretty good. She's pretty hard to get it in there, Carlos,
I hear you.
She's been pretty good on the ground. I've been impressed with her overall. She's got good forward pressure. Obviously, we saw in her previous fight being able to get the fight to the ground and ultimately finding the rear naked choke. She's looked impressive. She can push a pace. She's got high volume. I just think realistically this fight comes down with Sousa is if Sousa can keep this one on the feet, she's definitely got a little bit more pop in her punches. I think she's going to be able to get the respect of Wozniacki. And I think ultimately here, if Wozniacki can get this fight to the ground, she's going to struggle to be able to just kind of have a back and forth striking affair with Sousa. I think she carries that little bit of extra pop in her punches that is just going to kind of have Wozniacki guessing. She's not going to be able to have that same, kind of not necessarily reckless abandonment, but her ability to come forward and overwhelm her opponents at times is what opens up her opportunities to level change. It opens up her striking, her grappling. Her whole game is built around her ability to be able to come forward. And I think if Sousa is able to kind of get that respect early with her pop in her punches, I think it's going to kind of put Wozniacki on the back foot. Either way, I think if this one hits the mat, I think Sousa's going to be able to defend the takedowns. But I do think that's where Paulina is going to be able to look to get this fight. But ultimately, I think it stays on the feet. Sousa is able to beat her pillar to post with her power and the striking. And I think it's a shame that either one of these women has to match up with either one. I think it would have been nice to see them kind of get a few more fights in the PFL, get a few more victories, build their records up. I think both women are very impressive, and I think they have bright futures here in this promotion.
I'm glad you said that. I was thinking the same thing. You got to learn to build your stars. This is PFL. You got to catch up. You know what I mean? Build them. But they're fighting each other, so I'm down to watch it. Wozniacki.
And next up, we have Taylor Lapalus taking on Liam Gittins. What a last name. Carlos, who you got in this matchup?
I'm going with Lapalus in this one. I think Gittins, he's fought pretty much his entire career in Cage Warriors. So he's used to being on a big stage, big show, solid competition. That's what Cage Warriors offers. Pretty much the feel of PFL, UFC, one, all those other high level stages. And I think Gittins is on a streak and he's starting to put a lot of his skills together. You know what I mean? And I think that he looks very relaxed in the ring, and I think he's a smart fighter. I think he's. I just don't think that he offers any. I think mentally he's a good fighter at the level that he's at, but I think physically is where he doesn't offer that next level, and I think that's where Lapalus offers that over Gittins, and I think he's dangerous. Lapalus is a smart fighter. He fights long, knees in the clinch. He'll leap in with a knee, not like a jumping knee. He'll just lead with the knee. He's got solid wrestling. He's got good power. I don't see how Gittins is going to get this because Gittins is patient and he's looking for counter strikes. And I think Lapalus is aggressive. Not that he's high volume, not that he pressures you, but he'll just pick at you and find openings and create it like that. And I don't think Gittins is used to fighting a guy that's just as relaxed, just as smart, but has those physical abilities a little bit more and the experience factor a little bit more. I think Lapalus has fought some higher level opponents. And even in the UFC, he didn't have a losing record. He fought some good guys. He's won against them, and he left. You know what I mean? He didn't lose and was kicked out of the UFC. He left. He's at that level, and at 33, it's all been there. He's had that ability, that talent, the experience, big stage. Gittins, this is his first step up here against Lapalus, and he's probably going to learn a lot. But I'm going to take Lapalus. I think that he's used to this, and I think he's going to find a way to pick Gittins apart on the feet.
Yeah, Taylor Lapalus is, since you brought it up, is kind of giving "you can't fire me, I quit" vibes. That's kind of how I view it with the UFC. And I agree with Carlos here. I actually feel very confident in Lapalus. I think ultimately here, when you look at Gittins on the feet over in Cage Warriors, he does look to counter. He can be a little bit low volume, but one of the things I really noticed with him is he's very heavy on that lead leg, and I think a guy like Taylor Lapalus is going to be able to chew that up with front calf kicks. I think he's going to poke, prod, and really just ultimately get up on the striking numbers here against Gittins. It's going to make him overextend, which is going to open up the counters for Lapalus. And ultimately with Gittins, he wants to be able to get fights to the ground in some of his matchups, and I don't think Lapalus is going to be able to let him. I think he's going to be able to defend the takedown successfully. He's fought the much higher level opponents. He's got much more in terms of resume, in terms of MMA, his experience. I think he's got much better cardio as well. I think he can put up more volume. I really like Lapalus in this matchup. I think he should be able to get this one done against Gittins. I think he leaves a lot to be desired, and I think Carlos hit the nail on the head when he said Liam Gittins is pretty much a Cage Warriors guy, and that's his level of where he's at in terms of MMA, and I think this step up here is going to be too much for him, and Taylor Lapalus gets this one done, and watch that lead leg get absolutely chewed up. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a TKO finish with the amount that he really puts pressure on that lead leg. I think Taylor Lapalus can capitalize. And that brings us to the co-main event here for PFL Europe in the finals. We've got Chris Cyborg taking on Sarah Collins. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button as Carlos lets you know who he's got in the co-main event.
Well, I'm going to take Chris Cyborg, but for Collins to get this done, she's going to have to, I don't know, she's going to have to take the technical to experience. I don't know. She's just going to have to get very technical. Okay. And even if you get technical with Cyborg, it's like on the feet, her technical boxing, her kickboxing is just sharper than Collins. She's more of an athlete. She's a mover. She's light on her feet. She carries a little bit more power. I don't know if there's a way that Collins is going to get the edge in this fight unless she gets this to the mat. And even if she does get this to the mat, I do feel that Cyborg is better on the mat than than Collins is, because she's competed in all these high-level grappling tournaments as well, and she's won, and she's still at the top of her game. Now, the top of her game, people are afraid of her. No, I think that I think there's people out there that can take, like who was the girl that she last fought out there? Pacheco. She fought Larissa Pacheco, and Pacheco gave her a run for her money. I actually think she won that fight, and Cyborg got the nod in that one. Sarah Collins is not Larissa Pacheco. You know, she's not Amanda Nunes. She doesn't offer that threat to make Cyborg worried to come forward. And what she's very good at, Cyborg is better. So I say all that to say Chris Cyborg. Now, Cyborg is 40, but Collins is 35. 35 is not that old, but 40 is. You can go, you know, you can get old overnight, or you could just get old at 40. You know, at 35, you can get old overnight with punishment, or you still got a little something left for maybe 2 to 3 years. I don't think Collins has that, so I'm taking Cyborg. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the term one-way traffic for a reason. I only could pick Chris Cyborg in this matchup. I think.
Why you got to do that shit to me, man? I try to make this sound like a matchup. You one-way traffic. Go ahead.
I have to be honest. When Carlos is sitting there talking about his breakdown at the start, I could literally hear him trying to find a way to make it not sound like he was trying to give Collins a little bit of a due, and then I was just going to come in and be like, "What do you mean? It's going to be Cyborg all day," and that's how I feel.
That's it, man.
Listen, Collins is one of these people where obviously she's there. You know, she's got that high level, BJJ. She wants to get fights to the ground. She can submit anybody, but she ain't submitting Cyborg. She's not even going to be able to get this fight to the ground. This is kind of one of these matchups with the PFL halves, where we're going to see a lopsided performance. And if she's able to make it past, sort of round 3, I'd be surprised. I think with Chris Cyborg, she knows what she is. She's a heavy-handed puncher. She's on the gear. She's got the crimson chin. And I think ultimately here, she could do whatever she wants. I think she's going to be too big, too strong. 3 boxing fights that she's had, 3 boxing matches since her fight with Pacheco, as Carlos mentioned, just to kind of see them as kind of tune-up opportunities. So unless she's not working on her grappling and Collins comes out here and ultimately finds a takedown and submits Cyborg, maybe she falls off a cliff at 40, like Carlos mentioned. That's the only way I see. Slips on a banana peel. I just don't see a way that Cyborg loses this one. One-way traffic. I say it all the time. Cyborg by knockout on the feet. It's what it should be. Unless, this is kind of, she's out of touch now. She's not interested in MMA anymore. And, she's not working on her takedown defense. I doubt it. But maybe I'm just trying to make the matchup sound a little bit more interesting than what it is. Give me Chris Cyborg by knockout.
And that always got to do that shit.
Always. Has
one-way traffic. Go ahead.
One-way traffic. I actually see this one as one-way traffic. I'm interested to see how you see it, but we've got the main event, and as always for the PFL, hit that like and subscribe button as we break down Rayan Ferreira taking on Vadim Nemkov in the main event here for the PFL Europe Finals. Carlos, we got the big boys. Who you going with?
I got to go with Nemkov in this one. I was going to say, one-way traffic, Hanan Ferreira, but I couldn't even believe it myself. He's got all the big physical advantages. We know that the height, the reach, the size, medium power, but Nemkov just knows how to fight. And I feel that, yes, he could get clipped with something. He can get caught with something. But the fact is he moves his feet enough. Defensively, he stays pretty smart. And Ferreira's, he does know how to fight. He's not a bad fighter, but the technical ability that Nemkov has is worlds higher than Ferreira, and he's going to find a way to get inside. He's got big strikes as well. He's got a lot of movement. I feel that he can probably even best Ferreira on the ground. I feel he can get the takedowns if he feels like it. And I think Ferreira has one chance in this, and that swing with your eyes closed and pray that it lands on his chin. And even then, Nemkov sometimes has been able to come back and, rally after he's been rocked. So he's a tough kid. I don't see it happening. I even put down a couple of notes here to try to make Ferreira sound great because he's a big guy. He's imposing. He's won the tournament, but I don't think he's beaten Nemkov. Nemkov's just too skilled. So I'm going to go with that. Vadim Nemkov for the win.
No problema. I'm going with Ferreira, man. One-way traffic. I think he's going to be far too big, far too strong, far too physically imposing. I think Nemkov's going to struggle here. He's not fought somebody the size and the stature of Ferreira with the same athleticism. He's been on top of the mountain. He's been dethroned by Francis Ngannou. So what? We know what Francis Ngannou's capable of. He was taken down, bullied by a bigger, stronger opponent in that fight. I don't think Nemkov can do the same thing. I think he's undersized here for heavyweight. He fights behind a jab beautifully. He's very technical. He is a very skilled fighter, but I think sometimes when you see the physical stature here of a guy in Ferreira who cuts weight to get to 265, along with Nemkov that fights around that kind of 240 mark, I don't necessarily think he's going to have a speed advantage. I think Ferreira is going to be just as fast, if not, kind of in terms of athleticism, he's going to be there to be able to beat him to the punch. And I think it only takes one with Ferreira. And you look at the reach advantage as well, almost a 10-inch reach advantage. I just don't really see how Nemkov avoids all of these big shots from Ferreira. I think on the feet, I think it's going to be Ferreira all day. I think if Nemkov's able to wear him down with wrestling, that would definitely be a path to victory where I could see, Nemkov kind of taking over late in the fight after maybe round 2 or 3 of heavy pace wrestling, kind of pushing the pace, getting Ferreira tired. But even with Ngannou, he was able to take Ferreira down and obviously smother him and beat him up. But I expect Ferreira to kind of bounce back after that performance, show an improved skill set here. Obviously, 36 isn't necessarily old for heavyweight either, so I like both guys to kind of, win or lose here to be able to continue their path in the PFL, not necessarily kind of fall off of a cliff here. But give me Renan Ferreira here. I think he gets back in the win column. I think he's too physically imposing here for Nemkov, and we see Nemkov lose, which we don't see very often here in the main event for PFL Europe, the finals. But if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button. That's all we've got time for here in the PFL Europe finals. And before we wrap things up, Carlos, what do you want to say to the people?
I can't believe he picked against Nemkov in this one. I can't wait till you're wrong. And hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, especially after I pick this winner. And we'll see you on the next one.
Let us know in the comments section down below who you've got in the main event, Nemkov or Ferreira.
Nemkov.
Ferreira. It's no problema. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.